You and you.
They're not scientists.
Oh man, this is, why get this out?
But it's for people who are interested in music and getting a scientific insight into some of the lyrics of their favorite songs. Something like that.
And then they go,
Does this sound like a song to you? It sounds like a scientific textbook.
it doesn't make sense.
Don't get anal about all these facts, Charlie.
So yes, these guys have it pretty much right.
So yes, it's true. Here we go. Next song is... My name is Charley Lineweaver. I'm an astronomer and an astrobiologist, and I do research here at the Research School of Astronomy and Astrophysics, which is part of the Australian National University. And the first card is Space Oddity. Though I'm past 100,000 miles, I'm feeling very still. Well, that reminds me that, you know, there are no such things as absolute velocity in space. I mean, if you're alone in space and you're traveling through space, like, we can't tell whether this one's moving or this one's moving. So there's no absolute velocity in space according to special relativity. But general relativity allows for a rest frame in the universe. As a matter of fact, I did my PhD thesis on the cosmic microwave background. It's radiation that fills the entire universe, and it provides a rest frame and a reference frame, and it tells you, hey, if you're going fast, in front of you you see bluish light, in back of you you see red light, and so it's called the Doppler effect. But that means that the universe has a rest frame, and where in the hell did this rest frame come from? And it says here, I'm feeling very still, and I guess I'm trying to say that. What does still mean? This is legitimate because he's feeling very still. If he said, I am still, well, that would be another thing. He's feeling very still, that's subjective, that's allowed. The other thing he says, though I'm past 100,000 miles. Okay, he's 100,000 miles. Now the Earth's radius is 6,000, well, we do it in kilometers, 6,000 kilometers. 100,000 miles is about 200,000 kilometers. And that's about 2/3 of the way to the moon. So he's 2/3 of the way to the moon, and he's feeling very still. Maybe you just got to wait a little bit longer, and he'll arrive at the moon, and then he'll feel better. Okay, next one. The artist is Muse. Supermassive black holes. Glaciers melting in the dead of night, and the superstars sucked into the supermassive black hole. Supermassive black hole. Supermassive black hole. Well, I wrote a paper on supermassive black holes. As a matter of fact, I was trying to figure out how much entropy was in the universe. And it turns out that most of the entropy, well, when I was in graduate school, we thought the entropy of the universe was in the cosmic microwave background radiation, or dark matter, or neutrinos. But as it turns out, most of the entropy of the universe is in supermassive black holes. And that's kind of interesting. And during my career as an astronomer, we found out that there appear to be, well, there are supermassive black holes at the centers of all galaxies. So supermassive black holes are also, I haven't even talked about how weird supermassive black holes are, but like all black holes, here's a black hole and there's a event horizon here, and if you're falling in, this is called cosmic schizophrenia. If you're from the outside looking in, you will see this person go, and then time will freeze for this person. But if you are the person falling in, you go vroom, straight through, and so you are experiencing the inside of a black hole, and that is not part of our universe. It's not part of our universe because nothing from there can get out. And so it's really interesting to know that black holes create this schizophrenic view that we have on the outside. You cannot fall into a black hole, but if you're falling in, whoop, you go right in. And that's something I'm still trying to figure out. We have some students working on this. Moby, we are all made of stars. People, they come together, people, they fall apart. No one can stop us now because we're all made of stars. Well, the Big Bang produced hydrogen and helium. And those elements were produced in the Big Bang, in the universe, before there were any stars. So if you're interested in hydrogen and helium, and you should be because you're made out of 60% water, and what is water? H2O, 2 atoms of H and 1 of O. So that H that is in you, that's not really stars. It came from the Big Bang. And the H fills the universe everywhere and has very little to do with stars, except for the fact that stars are balls of hydrogen, and then they fuse that hydrogen into helium in their cores, and if they're big enough, that helium fuses into carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, all the other elements, and then they go, poof, they blow up, pollute the universe with heavy elements like the elements that you're made of, nitrogen and carbon and oxygen and phosphorus and sulfur. Now, That then turns into a molecular cloud that is polluted, and then when it forms a second generation of stars, that formed like the sun, then you'll have planets that are formed out of the elements that originally came from other stars. So yes, it's true, we are made out of stars, but so is air, so are rocks, so is this microphone and light. And the whole universe is made out of stars, except for when we're talking about the hydrogen helium. That was made in the Big Bang. Daft Punk, Get Lucky. What keeps the planet spinning? The force from the beginning. Ha! Okay, what spinning? When a planet spins, it's like anything. You know, if I spin this card like that, we call this angular momentum. And angular momentum, and the sun is the Earth is rotating. It rotates every 23 hours and 56 seconds with respect to the stars, and then 24 hours with respect to the sun. Anyway, the planet is rotating, and almost everything rotates. The sun rotates, the planets rotate, the galaxy rotates, even clusters of galaxies. They have galaxy, and they're rotating as well. So almost everything rotates. As a physicist, we say it has angular momentum. Now, one question is, where did the angular momentum come from? Because we have a law called conservation of energy and conservation of angular momentum. So once you start spinning, it just keeps on spinning. But the Earth is slowing down. So what keeps the planet spinning? It's a little like, Newton's first law, a body in motion tends to remain in motion unless acted on by an outside force. And that's true. Here we go. Through the universe, it just keeps on going. The force from the beginning, well, the word beginning, what the hell does that mean? Beginning. I studied the microwave background, the Big Bang, and we don't really know what the beginning is. And if there was a beginning, the universe seems to be 13.8 billion years old, so that implies that there was a beginning. A lot of my colleagues, not a lot, but a minority of colleagues are trying to figure out, well, wait a minute, what happened before the Big Bang? But when you ask that question, you're assuming that there was something called time before the Big Bang. You're creating a space and time, and then you're putting the universe inside of it. And that probably is wrong. The general relativity strongly suggests that that's the wrong picture. Rather, time and space started at the Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago. My dad doesn't understand that. Most people don't understand that, because how can time have a beginning? It's just... David Bowie, Life on Mars. Oh man, wonder if he'll ever know. He's in the best-selling show. Is there life on Mars? I got that all wrong, but anyway. So David Bowie, is there life on Mars? We're trying to find that out. There are many, probably 100 scientists right now in the world trying to figure out if there's life on Mars. And there are 3 spacecraft on their way to Mars. And a couple of them were going to dig into Mars because we think that the surface of Mars may not be as conducive to life as just beneath the surface. Maybe 10, 20, 30 centimeters, maybe a meter. And the reason we think that is because underneath that amount of rock, you have enough pressure to keep H2O as a liquid. Now, at the surface of Mars, you can have either ice, H2O ice, or you can have H2O vapor, but you cannot have H2O liquid. 3.5 billion years ago, that was different. There was enough gas in the atmosphere of Mars so that you had enough pressure to keep keep H2O as a liquid at the surface. And that's why on the surface of Mars we can see all kinds of channels, dried up riverbeds, and we have lots of evidence that there was water flowing all over Mars about 3.5 billion years ago. Is there life on Mars? We're trying to figure that out. Oh man, wonder if he'll ever know. He's in the best-selling show. I guess he's talking about an astronaut here, if he'll ever know. But that kind of personalized science in a way that I don't like, because really science is really done in groups. We're talking about dozens of people using instruments to find life on Mars. But maybe in a song you have to personalize it and talk about he, and he's the best-selling show. Maybe because he's a good astronaut, he's been well trained. All right, last one. Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, Woodstock. We are stardust, we are golden, we are 10 billion-year-old carbon, and we've got to get ourselves back to the garden. Yes, we are stardust. So, yes, we are stardust, but not the hydrogen, everything else, the oxygen, the nitrogen, the carbon, the sulfur, the phosphorus, that is stardust, because those elements were produced in the centers of big stars. We are 10 billion-year-old carbon. Now, that's interesting, because the universe is 13.8 billion years old. 10 billion-year-old carbon, that means that the carbon was produced in stars,
that formed about 6 billion years earlier than the sun was formed. And that's not exactly true. It could have been stars that formed 1 billion years before the sun formed, or 2 billion, or 3 billion, or 4 billion. So to pull out a specific number like that, of course, this was written in Woodstock in '69, so we didn't know that much about the age of the universe. As a matter of fact, the age of the universe at that time was about, we said, hey, 10 to 20 billion years old. So, give these guys a break. 10 billion year old carbon, putting that in a line and having, it was a really good song too, by the way.